very similar to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Kansas City Chiefs would love to come out here and stop the Eagles' running game with a four-man front. However, I just described all 32 teams to you. Of course, every team would like to do that. It becomes more challenging depending upon your opponent. It becomes more challenging, depending upon your personnel and what you can do schematically. So today what we're going to talk about is the way that the Kansas City Chiefs protect or essentially play the A-gap and kind of what we can look for in terms of the matchup here between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to that all-important run game. The thing that everyone thinks that we can't do, but I beg to differ. I think we can do it, and I think we're going to do it at a pretty high rate, even though I respect the Kansas City Chiefs defense. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. So when you talk about personnel with the Kansas City Chiefs, so anytime I talk about the defense before the game, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, guys, you can almost divide this up by a handful of players because depending on who's in the lineup kind of tells you how they're playing their front and how they're playing the back seven, okay? If you're looking at the back seven, the players you're looking for, number one is Jaden Hicks, who's a strong safety. When they go big nickel or they play like a big dime, basically when they're adding in an extra safety into the rotation there, essentially he's the guy that is normally played there. Although they do have a free safety out there in, I don't know how to say this young man's name, Shamari Connor? I'm not familiar with them, guys, but I do know that from the snap counts and just watching tape on these guys, he does have a role and he does play. So you kind of, if you see those guys in the game, that more than likely if there's not an injury, you're getting some form of either big nickel or what they call giant dime, made popular by the New York Giants guys. In terms of the linebackers, when I'm looking at the linebackers and I'm trying to judge what I'm seeing here, they do a lot of three linebacker fronts, whether you want to look at it from like a 3-3-5 perspective, a 43 base defense, no matter how you want to take a look at the situation, okay? They do have a tendency to bring in Leo Chenal, number 54, Leo Chenal, to pair with Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil. And they even have a guy in Joshua Uche. I can't remember how to say his name, guys. I remember when he came out of the draft a year or two ago, but another kind of a bigger Leo Chenal style guy that they can play in a similar role to the way that we play, kind of like Zach Bond. You know how we'll take Zach Bond and every now and then we'll walk him down on the line of scrimmage to form a five-man front. And then sometimes he may rush the passer. Sometimes he may have a true, like a gap fit on the outside there. And most of the times, though, it's meant to basically bring some form of a replacement, right? We make you think that they're going to bring Bond, or we make you think they're going to bring somebody else through the middle of the the defensive front there, and then we drop out, and end up only rushing four guys in general. So when you see Leo Chenal in the game, number one, you're probably checking to see, okay, is this a three linebacker front that they're playing? But number two, you're looking to see the way that we play Zach Bond is kind of the way that they play Leo Chenal at times. Now, getting down to the specifics of the defensive line and the way the Kansas City Chiefs have played their fronts recently. So, there's a few guys that catch my attention because, like, depending on how they're playing them, depends on, like, kind of what you're getting from a defensive alignment here. The first guy that really stands out to me, and I'm not saying that these are the most important guys to their scheme, it's just that these are the guys I notice wrinkles. Charles Omenihu. He is a young man that when you go turn on the film and you're looking for number 90, he's kind of used in a way that we kind of use Brandon Graham. On occasion, they'll line that young man up over the nose, right? He'll play in the A-gap, kind of Brandon Graham-ish, right? He's a little undersized for that, of course, just like Brandon Graham is, but he's a very strong player and has some twitchiness to him off the initial snap, okay? Sometimes they align him up in like a speed package, like the NASCAR package, right? To where they're using him as an interior defensive lineman in the pass rush situations. Generally speaking, you find that on third downs when teams get themselves into pretty long distances, like 3rd and 7+ downs. You'll see them kind of take Charles and throw him inside as that kind of interior pass rusher. And then they also play him on the outside every now and then just to, kind of facilitate a break for players. Like the Chiefs are very much a rotation along the defensive line. Like I would suspect that one of the ways you'll see the Eagles kind of counteract this with the Chiefs is I suspect we're going to see a little bit more hurry up than maybe we're used to. We know the Eagles do run a lot of hurry up. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, we never do this, and all of a sudden we're about to do it. No, that's not true. We do run a fairly large amount of hurry up, but I wouldn't be shocked if this isn't kind of like where everybody's noticing, like, man, they are really playing the hurry up offense. They're in that 2-minute offense quite a bit in this game. The other guys to watch out for there is Tayshawn Wharton. Tayshawn Wharton is kind of like a Milton Williams-esque type player for them. They will play him on the nose. As a matter of fact, he has logged the most snaps of anyone inside of the interior defensive line in the A-gap. Doesn't mean he's a true zero technique, guys. It just means he's playing the A-gap. He could be playing 2-eye, basically. And he's a smaller guy in terms of the weight. He's like 280, 285-ish in terms of the weight, guys. And then they also have Derek Nandi, who's another guy that sometimes they'll play him across the nose, and then other times they'll play him out as a 3 technique. Sometimes they'll play him in a 4. Sometimes they'll even use him as an end. He's kind of a tweener type guy. But the main person that I noticed, especially of recently, now that they're getting a little bit more healthy and they kind of got guys coming back into the fold a little bit, that tells me there's a switch up here on the defensive line. Like, I can obviously tell something is a little different fundamentally from them, is when they play Mike Pennel. And I noticed that early in the AFC Championship game, Mike Pennel actually came out as their starter, if you will. I don't really care about the supposed starter label because it just means you take the first snap of the ball game, guys. It doesn't tell you necessarily the complete profile in terms of the way that you play a player, right? You got to look at snap counts and you got to look at when and where they use the player, right, to get a real honest feel for the guy. And what I will say about Mike Pennel is that he's unique in the body type, right? Chris Jones is a dog. Chris Jones is built a little bit kind of like Jalen Carter, right? We all kind of recognize that and know that. Well, Mike Pennel is kind of like their guy that's similar to a Jordan Davis. Now, I'm not saying they're apples to apples, guys. Jordan Davis is an incredible athlete, and I'll give Mike Pennel some credit because while Mike Pennel might not be the athlete that Jordan Davis is, he's a veteran guy that's been in the league for a long time and is probably a little bit advanced when it comes to hand placements, shooting his hips correctly and controlling, walling off the line. He's the guy they use to do that, guys. He's that wall type guy. Now, I will say that he's only logged 49 snaps in the A-gap on the season so far, but I did notice him quite a bit in last week's game. So I'm not, I don't know everything about the Chiefs, guys. So I can't tell you about injury and there could be a whole list of things and the reason why Mike Pennel didn't get as many snaps early on in the season as that we just saw like last week. I mean, we'd have to really study their tape. The last guy or two that's kind of on their line that we have to talk about, guys, is number one, Marley Tuipulotu gets called up on their practice squad on occasion, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's not called up for this game because Marlon Tuipulotu is he's not great, but he is a decent run defender. And then they also have Mike Dana. Mike Dana is kind of like he's a tweener as well, like an edge / like interior D lineman type kind of body style. Very similar to Charles Amenahu. Those two are very similar in terms of body frame style and the way that they play the game a little bit. I will say Amenahu's a little bigger, I mean, in terms of like the physical frame per se, but you do see some of those similarities between these guys. George Karlaftis is another guy that you're going to see kind of coming in their pass rush front, and that's what you got to watch out for, is when they're kind of in their pass rush front by who they're playing. Like, they'll have Karlaftis in there, they'll have Jones in there. You'll probably see a guy like Mike Nell get subbed out for like a Derek Nandi type player inside of those fronts. You might have Felix Uzuma in the game for them. You could potentially have Mike Dana. You might see Eminu come out there. Amenahu. Sorry, his name is very confusing, guys. Charles's. You might see him get kind of subbed out there. You'll notice there's a little difference in the way that they're playing their pass rushers. The main person that's going to come off in pass rush situations is going to be Mike Pennel. They're going to retract him from the pass rush. A lot of times what I see on tape is Amenahu, Dana, those type of guys, 90 are coming in to kind of be the pass rushers in those situations. This is going to be interesting because the one thing you could probably take away from this chaotic, set of discussion that we're in right now is that they play the A-gap uniquely, right? In some ways, they're kind of similar to the Eagles, right? They got a big guy that they can use inside the A-gap. They don't always use them though. And as a matter of fact, like I said, he only logged 49 snaps, and the guy that's like built like Milton Williams has logged 117 snaps. Which, if you're wondering why I keep focusing on that 117 snaps for Wharton, it's because he logged 17 more snaps than Jordan Davis, essentially inside the A-gap. So that just tells you, Jordan Davis had 100 snaps on the season. Wharton's had 117, just to give you some idea of the way they play things, right? And just like the way the Eagles will use Milton Williams and Jalen Carter and Moro Jamo, right? Williams has logged 15 in the A-gap. Jalen Carter's logged 22 in the A-gap. Moro Jamo has logged 8 in the A-gap, right? You'll see them also use their edges, you'll see them use their interior defense linemen kind of the same way, right? Where you'll see like Mike Dana and Chris Jones. You'll see Felix Anaduke Azuma, who he's got like 4 snaps inside the A-gap on the season. Amena, who's got like 6 snaps. Like, they'll do the same kind of thing, guys, where if you take them collectively, every now and then they kind of do that. And then also when you get body types like Amenahu, Azuma, Dana, guys like that, Karlaftis, you get that BGS type, way that we played our A gaps last year in particular. If you remember when we used to line Brandon Grand on a few, we're talking handful of snaps, guys. But if you total these all out, what I'm trying to indicate here is that at least once a game, and if you took the totals and divided them out, like once a game, you're getting these kind of exotic looks coming out of the A gap to where they're putting a lighter body in there to rush from the A gap. Which I think if you're the Eagles, you got to catch them where you can catch them. Like if you know that they're coming in here and they're going light because they're going for the pass rush, right? So they're removing Mike Pennel, and their only really hope to hold up there is Karlaftis and Jones, and then they got like Amenahu in the game, and they got like Derek Nandi in the game for a pass rush set. I think you attack it with Saquon. You attack it with your offensive line. You go hurry up. You don't let them substitute. Even in hurry up, you can slow it down. You just don't huddle. You're just running no huddle essentially. So you keep running that no huddle, and you keep preventing them from huddling up and being able to substitute guys in. Opposite. If they got a heavy run front in there and you know that you can work your stuff through 12 personnel and you still have Dallas Goedert and you got Grant Calcaterra out there with AJ and Barkley and Devontae, and you know that you can do some things even from 12 personnel if you catch a team going heavy. You hurry it up on them, right? You want to hurry it up on them. You want to keep them from substituting. And I do suspect that we'll probably see some periods of the game. We will definitely see that from kind of like what I see from them on film. I do expect that to come down the line. All right, guys. If you are new to the channel, I would love to add you to the Cerebral Football community. In order to do that, guys, I just need you to look up here, click that little icon. It's going to take you over to my channel header, and then click the subscribe button. Or you can just look down to the watermark down in the bottom of the screen if you're on like a laptop or something, guys, and you can click that and subscribe that way. All right. I'm not going to take offense, guys, if you head out of the video right now. If I haven't built up any kind of social capital with you yet, because maybe it's the first or second time we've crossed each other, hey, man, you're not offending me. I appreciate you coming in and checking out the channel, and hopefully I'll have an opportunity to build social capital with you in the future. But for everybody else, I just want to talk for a few seconds, guys, because like this time frame that I have here to create videos and break down film for you guys and having the opportunity to talk to you guys is pretty important right now for me, guys, because I am going through it with the baby right now. For some of y'all that don't know, right around this time last year was the first time I was able to actually go in and see my daughter, Alana, for the first time. Now, when I say my daughter, I understand she's really my niece, but I consider her my daughter because she's being raised by my wife and I. And, she spent her first few months in the NICU, and, she's a Downs baby. She's got a G tube, gastric tube. That's how she gets fed, partially with bottle, partially through, directly into the stomach through the tube. And we've been dealing with some pretty serious health conditions with Alana. And I got to be honest, guys. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that I'm not terrified sometimes when, I learn what's going on and they're telling me things. And right now, the most scariest aspect of what's happening is that we suspect that she was having seizures. So we had some EEGs performed. We originally had one where you take her to a facility and they do the EEG for that like hour window that you're there or whatever. And then of course it not their fault. It just didn't catch anything definitive in that hour because she didn't have the spasms during that time. So I was pretty stern about what I was seeing, and I kind of got them to agree to do a 48-hour home test to where she would be hooked up with cameras on her for a 48-hour period, which we just completed a couple of weeks ago. And that came back with a fairly scary prognosis that I've received, and basically confirming that there's definitely seizures. It was probably I'm not a doctor, guys, so I don't want to play a doctor right now. But from what I can understand and what I can see, because we go next week to kind of have the bigger discussion, it's in the realm of like the infantile like kind of seizures, which is a scary thing, to be quite honest. I think the scarier concern is a condition they call, I think, hypnostic patterns, I believe is the terminology here, guys. Essentially, it's like the scattered brain waves, and it can cause a lot of developmental issues. This is something that sometimes has to be treated by diets. If you guys are familiar with the keto diet's one of the really big ways that you treat epilepsy, depending on the type of epilepsy and what's stemming it, right? Sometimes it's treated through surgery. Other times it's treated through hormone stuff and, other types of medical treatments, things like that are controlled by medication. So we're at that point right now, guys, where we're trying to figure out exactly what's going on with her. And it's tough, man. Like it's not an easy situation because if it was me, I could accept whatever fate came my way. I could probably laugh about it with you guys on camera and be like, yeah, I probably deserved it somewhere along the line. I probably done enough for this to make sense. But it's tough when it's, you're going through it while watching another person. Like, the other person seems to be suffering who has done no wrong, has done nothing to warrant such a condition to happen to them. And that's the part, guys, where for me it's been pretty tough. Like, Lana doesn't really, you shouldn't be going through this kind of stuff. And it's tough, man. Like, it's it's a tough situation to like kind of witness and watch, because it's nothing I can do. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that I can fight for her. There's, nothing I can do outside of general, care and following directions that are given to me by, medical personnel. It's tough, man. Like, I wish there was more I could do. I wish there was, anything I could do, honestly, outside of just being available for first aid stuff and knowing how to do that kind of stuff from, military training. But, oh, man, it's getting there, guys. And like having the channel and having a distraction, and thankfully the Eagles made it into the Super Bowl and helped us prolong this distraction even longer. Continued it for us, because I definitely needed it, guys, because it's tough, man. It's a tough situation right now inside of the household. Like, a lot of suffering through the unknown. You know what I mean? Like, you suffer 1,000, pains and arrows and misery because of what you don't know, right? It could be not a terribly serious diagnosis. It also could be, honestly, and being real about it, guys, it could potentially be a life-threatening diagnosis. It just depends. I mean, this can lead to some severe cognitive disabilities. This could be something that once it's treated and it's covered, she lives a relatively normal life. And after, 4 or 5 years old, like, it kind of dissipates and it's not really a concern anymore. It's just the unknown right now, man. It's the unknown that kills you. It's what you don't know that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really do anything about it. Like, all you can do is deal with the anxiety. And like, for me, it's tough to deal with an anxiety like this. I something that induces anxiety like this, I should say. Like, I'm not very good at dealing with that kind of stuff, man. Mostly, I run or I lift weights or I do something. And like, when it comes to this, like, it's the anxiety is just overburdening at this point, guys. Like, I'm truly going through it, if I'm being honest about the situation. Like, it's very tough to combat it, because, it's not me. If it was me, I think I could handle this a lot better. But because it's, it's dealing with, my daughter, like, it's, like, she's 12 months old, man. She just turned a year on January 16th. As a matter of fact, the first time I was able to see her in the hospital was right around this time frame, because I couldn't get in for like 2 weeks. Because you guys know, when children are in the NICU and you're dealing with a situation like this where there's a custody thing going on, like, you have to be placed on a list first before you can even see her. So for like 2 weeks, this child sat in the NICU without any member of her family being present to, like, be there for her. We were really grateful for the nurses that were in the NICU. They were a really great team there, and we respect the heck out of what they have to do on a daily basis. But, I mean, this child is really, for the first year of her life, I mean, she's really had to deal with a lot of crap. It's tough, man. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off of here. It's just, it's all over my mind. I'm pretty sure it's evident, and sometimes when I'm doing videos, I probably seem a little disinterested or disengaged at times, and I don't mean to be, but it's just the emotional, toll that this thing takes, especially on someone like me, guys. I don't know, man. I'm not one for crying. I'm not one for expressing emotions, guys. I'm not. Most of the time I don't know what good it really does, other than, for me, this is a little therapeutic or cathartic in a way, if you will. But, yeah, guys, I appreciate y'all, man, so much, guys. And I'll be back, man. I'm going to keep making videos for you guys. So peace until the next video, guys. I'm out of here.